Okay. Good morning and welcome, guys, and massive shout out to our huge community. It is Thursday. It is Pounds for Breakfast. It's time to get in it. And as always, I'm your host, Dane Vandemas. Now, we had some technical difficulties in our Dollars for Lunch New York Stock Exchange session yesterday, but we have resolved that. Everything is working proper and beautiful. So we aren't going to have any technical difficulties today. We are going to fly through the markets. We're going to bank some pips and end off Thursday in a strong note and in the blue and in the green. So just a quick shout out to everybody that's in our community right now. I can see you guys are chatting. I'm more interested in knowing where is everybody from. I can see Cape Town, UK, Gauteng is in the house, Imalentle. I also saw Botswana, Eswatini. Let's see where else we got. I saw Guyana is in the house. Guys, let me know where in the world you're joining us from, and we're going to jump into it and we're going to get started. So there's a lot of data to cover today, and I did miss one event which I found in the economic calendar that I do want to also go over. But as always, we're going to start off with the news and then we're going to ease in from there. Having a look at the chart, there is some amazing opportunities. I spent quite a few hours in the charts this morning, and I will be sharing that with you. Now, in addition to that, guys, if you have more than $1,000 in your live account, please direct message me directly after the show, and my trading template, meaning everything that you're about to see from an analysis perspective. If you'd like my templates and you have more than $1,000 in your live account, please direct message me and I'll give you a link down in the description. You can message me. I'll give you a link there, and I will drop you a copy of my trading templates, right? On a PC, you go in, you drop it into your trading templates, and then you can see exactly what I'm seeing. You can create an additional profile, and every day I will be dropping in those templates. That's going to be part of our Premium Plus packages. And stick around to the end. I'll explain a little bit more about that because that is going live extremely soon. So for those of you with those bigger accounts, we're going to be adding a ton of benefits. There's been a lot of requests for different things, and it's going to be coming up, and we are going to be launching that in the next day or so. So you definitely want to stay tuned to be a part of that. But first, we are going to jump into some of that news and data that's happening in the market. So let's get into it. We're going to open up and start off with that news, and we are then going to look at what the rest of the markets have in store for us. Now, again, if there's any subjects that you feel we would want to cover a little bit more, anything you want to understand more about, please do drop it in the comments. Anything you're seeing in the news, you're more than welcome to drop that in the comments. As long as we keep things positive, you can drop whatever you want in the comments. Anything offensive, anything slightly negative will basically result in me just saying goodbye. I'll pull a Liz Truss on you and just say goodbye. All right, so let's jump into it. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to have a look on the local front, what is happening. And again, if you guys are getting tired of the local front, just let me know. But the story is same old, same old. My system is super excited to get into US 30, but it's a little bit too early for that. But Sunrail bungles all 23 tenders to repair flood damages in infrastructure in KZN. Right, I don't have much to say about this. The title says it all. There's nothing really much we need to go over here. But the one item I did miss in the fundamental announcements or in the calendar is this autumn statement, right? This is something I haven't really followed all too often. If I'm 100% honest with you, I haven't really looked all too much at the autumn statement, but it definitely, reading into it, it definitely has the ability to move the pound, right? Yesterday, we saw that strength of the pound. Again, this statement is essentially a mini budget, a little bit of a forecast over the next 2 quarters or so. And that gives an idea as to what the House of Commons, what the Reserve of the UK is looking at in terms of their budget and where they're going to be doing their spending. We're going to get some insights into inflationary type items in that. I think that's going to be the main headline item there, right? Again, that good data result that we saw on the pound yesterday that we benefited from is not good for the country long term. It shows inflation. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the statement. And we will obviously cover that when we get to the fundamentals in a second. Now, looking into the US, there's a bunch of information here, but I do believe the one that is the most pertinent goes in line with our interest rate discussions. So Fed's Waller, right, has essentially gone in and said that, listen, a 50 basis point hike is now more likely due to the data we've been seeing on the dollar, right? The dollar's had really, really bad data, again, which is good for the overall look of the market, because again, that dollar needs to come off those highs. Now, yesterday, we saw some strength on the dollar, and we were looking at those US 30 short positions, right? The analysis was 100% correct. I had students inboxing me and saying that, they took US 100 that fell like an absolute stone. It was only US30 that really got us into that weird zone, but the rest of the markets responded accordingly. And I failed to look at US 100 or NASDAQ, which did perform as expected. However, there is a high likelihood of that 50 basis point hike. And if we get that in December, that will obviously rally stocks across the board. So I will be sending this article into the groups. And I think also to answer somebody else's question, just before the show started, does Globex 360 have a WhatsApp group? We don't deal with WhatsApp. We have too many clients to facilitate on the WhatsApp group, but we are going to be launching the different groups towards the end of this week, meaning we've got the free group, we'll have premium, we'll have premium plus, and then we'll have private wealth, right? Different groups will have different benefits. We'll have different types of signal services, different market analysis, different forecasts. And there's some really, really cool stuff there. It's going to be my top picks of the day, all drawn out. It's going to have levels involved. It's going to have likelihoods, percentages of achieving. So it's really something revolutionary. All the things you guys have been asking for is coming into those groups, and those will be open groups where we can chat a little bit more openly. And as I trade, I can post those figures into that group. So for those of you who've been asking for exact levels, my team will be monitoring as I place a trade, and within seconds, you'll have that exact trade inside that group, market structure, take profits, stop losses, trailing stops, and a note there of whatever I say in the live broadcast. So for those who've been asking, we've listened and we will be delivering. So over the next few days, it's going to get massive. It's going to get brilliant. So I will be sharing this in the free group for now. And again, as we move forward, the more detailed articles we will be sharing closer into those premium and premium plus, as well as private wealth. Now, moving away from the news, we're going to have a quick look at some of that fundamental data. But really first, before we get into that, just a little map of the S&P 500 heat map, right? Tesla is still taking an absolute spanking, and this has got a lot to do with his role within Twitter, right? There's a lot of articles saying, he's causing, messing up things up, and he's telling staff, get prepared to work extremely hard or go home. And the reality is it needs a shakeup, right? Whenever there's a new buyout or a new takeover, it's never the smooth transitionary process. I like his management style. He's going in, he's basically saying those who are prepared to build this company stay, those who aren't leave. And the markets are seeing that as a negative, but I really think we're going to see some massive things from Twitter. I'm pretty happy to delete my Facebook and start spending more of my time on Twitter, if I'm perfectly honest. But just a little bit of a mixed bag that we're seeing across the board there. Now, moving into some of that fundamental data, we didn't have all too much this morning at 9 o'clock. That was the reason we didn't have a specific 9 a.m. Premium Plus show. But there is an item that I did miss, right? And that is coming on a little bit later. But first, we have that Euro CPI data that is going to be coming out for the Euro. Now, this could be big. It could be massive. We're going to have a show regardless. We're going to be prepared. We're going to show up because we know that's 90% of the work. And I'll break down that CPI data, what we could expect, and we can see what is happening on the Euro. There's some imbalances there. And so we want to see if we can take advantage of that for a swing trade type of position, the same way we've done on GBP USD yesterday. But moving a little bit further on into the day, this is what I missed, and it's that 2:30 autumn forecast statement. And again, as I explained, this is just a mini budget in terms of what's coming up and what's going to be happening in the future. We are going to be having a Premium Plus show talking about, most importantly, initial jobless claims. We're going to then also discuss the Philadelphia Fed Manufacturing Index, and then we're also going to discuss building permits. And that's going to happen at 3:15 today. Premium Plus, we're going to deal with these events. We're going to trade them live. So if you want to be a part of that, again, make sure your account is at least at $100. That package is going to change over this week, and you guys will see what's involved there. And then again, for all premium clients who have more than $100, we are going to have the New York Stock Exchange open. There's no massive news that's going to be coming in on New York Stock Exchange. So this is going to be pure price action as we look at taking advantage of the markets and jumping in right there. So there's not too much happening outside of the Euro, outside of that dollar data. We're going to get at 3:30. So it leaves pretty much open sailing this morning that we can pretty much focus on price action. I found some really amazing charts, some really amazing items that we can get into. And this is where we're going to jump in and have a look at some of those analysis items. Now, we've got a few minutes. We've got less than a minute really to go over that. And then we're going to look at the London market open. But I'm not expecting a ton of volatility this morning. So let's open up our charts and let's have a look at what the opportunities are And as always, we're going to start off with our good old friend, the dollar index. So let's get into it and let's have a look at what's happening. Beautiful stuff. So let's give it a look and see what we can see here. So having a look at that dollar index, it's busy being covered up there right quickly by that sign. I've noticed a little bit of a structure here that we're seeing, and this is a little bit of a descending structure. We saw that strength really come in yesterday after, we got that dollar information, that dollar data, right? So dollar started that push, and then, that information should have been negative for the dollar, but we ended up seeing the dollar strangely gaining momentum over that period of time. So yeah, it's a little bit of an awkward one, a little bit of a sideways movement, but most importantly, we need to just understand the dollar is continuing to lose value across the board. And that's obviously the most important thing for us to be aware of. Now, looking at EURUSD, EURUSD is sitting perfectly and comfortably in the structure. There's nothing that's worrying it about the dollar. However, this is going to propose and give us a really great opportunity when we start to see that fundamental data come out, that CPI data that's going to be coming out at 12. Remember, we have a quarter to 12 show. We're going to deal with that CPI data live. So again, if you want to be a part of that, you obviously just need to make sure you do have your $100 account sorted out. So we're just going to deal with the structure. If it continues, we're going to look for that buy, potentially even a breakout or an overextension. But again, if we start to see that weaker euro data, so lower than expected CPI numbers, we could start to see that euro break through this support she's currently sitting on at the moment. And that'll give us short side opportunities on euro dollar that's been performing exceptionally well. The downside is quite a big move. We could retrace all the way to the 78.6 or the 88.2. And again, that's about 350 to 400 pips south side. So definitely big opportunities involved right there. USD ZAR, as we drew out the structure yesterday, USD ZAR is continuing to head down in this manner, in this fashion. But again, as we know, our support is still sitting below us. So looking at USD ZAR, this is a 15-minute time frame. We are looking for and basically seeing an attempted little bit of a breakout here. We don't have enough data from a resistance perspective. We are basically just looking at the start of this bear market and where we've projected up, and this is a parallel channel. So I wouldn't rely totally on this for a breakout perspective. I would more look at it in terms of finding that support level and then seeing, does USD ZAR start to make that upthrust and break some of those previous highs, right? If we start to do that, and I suspect we might get there for the US Open, right? If we start to see that dollar strength come in, then we could definitely start to see a buy opportunity on USD ZAR. But as of this morning, nothing yet. We're still seeing at support, a little bit dangerous in terms of a pullback. So I'm not looking at that this morning. GBP USD, looking at what happened with the dollar yesterday, that dollar came in, started to show strength, even though we should have, strength was pretty much inverted here. We saw that dollar strength come into the market and then kind of ease off. And GBP USD is back at its previous highs, right? Trying to break through that resistance level. Now, again, we've got some pretty solid market structure that's keeping the price of GBP USD up. But, if we fail this level, we're going to start to see a triple top and the future GBP USD hangs in the balance. Now, this autumn forecast that we're expecting in at 230 for the pound, this could set off and be all the difference between an absolute breakout or a complete failure of bull market structure. So that 230 meeting is going to be crucial. It's going to be insane. And we definitely want to make sure we are part and parcel of that. Just looking at the chats there, I can see we have people from all over the world. We've got Free State, Uganda, Johannesburg, Gaborone, Soweto, Vereeniging, let's see, Durban, Vaughan Valley in the house, Tembisa, Midrand, all the way from Germany. We have Cape Town in the house. Beautiful stuff. Guain saying, are we only focusing on current balance, or are we also going to be checking on overall deposits made? So a great question. We actually were having a meeting about that today to understand the tiers and the groups. We'll be taking a combination of both. So we're looking at a deposit made, but then there's a minimum balance that needs to be maintained to stay within that group. So we're trying to work out a system that will look at both. Obviously, we value, being involved in the different tiers. It is a minimum deposit, but it is a minimum deposit. So example, the first tier or the first premium tier is a minimum of $100, but it's the minimum deposit. So if you fall below that, from a balance perspective, we'll check balances on a regular basis, because obviously if a person deposits $100, they're going to sit in the group, for a year, right? If there's no balance check. So you guys understand it has to be a little bit of both. Chris H, we are going to get to NAS in a second. We are going to have a look at that as soon as we're done with some of these FX pairs. We will give it a quick look. I'm just touching on US30 and NASDAQ. I'm not seeing any major upthrusts or change in direction, so we're still safe for now to continue on our way. The next chart we're looking at is GBP JPY, and I'm giving a little bit of a focus today on the euro and on the pound, just considering the type of news that we are going to be getting. Now, at the moment, the yen is currently the most undervalued currency across the board. Right now, if the yen turns around and we start to see some of that value come back into the markets, we'll start to see that yen start to break structure. Now, I just want everybody to be aware that on a 4-hour time frame, we've got a massive rising structure here. Okay, and if we start to see any sort of pullback or break of structure, we could see some very big moves towards the downside. However, for the time being, on a pure price action perspective, this can still be considered highly bullish, right? We're starting that initial breakout, and that breakout looks something like that. I would have preferred if it's there. Yeah, I think that's going to be the ideal level. And we are starting that breakout process. Not extremely aggressive. And this is GBP/JPY looking at it on a 30-minute time frame. So that'll be something we just have to consider. And I would be more interested in GBP/JPY short. If the pound starts to lose value, the yen starts to make a little bit of a comeback, I'm going to pretty much be monitoring these levels primarily. Now, Euro GBP is an interesting one, and I drew this price action just before we went live. And I just want to point out the fact that Euro GBP is currently failing market structure. I just want to point that out, right? This is the first failure of market structure on Euro GBP that we've seen in quite a period of time. So having a look at this, right, we are literally busy pricing down. I wouldn't take this as it currently sits, even though it's 10 pips, right? It's not massive. It's not a big late to the party type event. Again, GBP/JPY in 15 minutes. Should we get a pullback, we are going to get a retest. I would like to look at Euro GBP. This is Euro GBP. I might have said GBP/JPY. This is Euro GBP. And should we get a pullback, I might be looking for a short opportunity, provided we retest successfully under resistance, and we obviously do not break that diagonal from a retest perspective. I will then be looking at that. So this has started to move off already in the last 30 minutes or so. I wasn't expecting a breakdown. I was more expecting to look for some sort of buy opportunities here. So this can be a fake out. So just be aware. This can be a bear trap to get a lot of people into a sell move. We generally wait for a breakthrough to come back and retest. So expect a retest in the next 2 or 3 hours. And that will definitely correlate with that autumn mini budget that is going to be coming in at 2:30. So again, anything euro, anything pound related, remember the euro data that we are going to be getting is at 12 o'clock. That's CPI data. Again, if that CPI is under expectation, it's going to be bad for the euro. In a euro GBP situation, it will continue to fall. If we get a better than expected number on that CPI data, it'll be good for the euro. We'll expect euro GBP to pull back into structure. So again, with these looming fundamental data points, you want to wait for them to materialize and then allow the markets to run. We don't have all too much data tomorrow being Friday. So anything we see today could continue to run Thursday, Friday, and well into next week. And that is why being aware and prepared is half the effort here, but knowing when to pull the trigger is going to be just as important this morning. Now, moving into our indices, as always, you guys know that we really enjoy and love US30. I just want to show you guys really quickly what we ended up seeing yesterday. So as we can see, Euro US30 is currently ranging, right? Here's yesterday's data that came out. That was good for the dollar and should have caused US30 to sell. However, US30 spiked down, right? If you have a look at the time, that's at 3:30. US30 spiked down and then started this little bit of a range. And the New York Stock Exchange didn't do it any favors. New York Stock Exchange kept this thing into a range. We are starting to see that little bit of a breakout this morning. Now, I'm not too interested in chasing US30 for a buy at this moment in time. Again, specifically looking and waiting for those 3 data points we are going to be getting this afternoon at 3:30. Those data points I will then consider a trade in terms of where I would like to go. But we started to see this breakout already happening at 8 a.m. this morning. So a little bit too soon for us to obviously catch as an early trade here, but just to be aware of where this is. In relation, I just want to open up. I'm going to hide this one quickly, and I just want to open up and show you guys US 100, what happened yesterday. So here's US 100, right? And I just want to get to the same time frame. These are both 5-minute time frames. So here's yesterday at the exact same time, right? So here's yesterday 3:30. There we go. And there's yesterday 3:30, right? Yesterday 3:30 on NASDAQ, we got the direct call. We were ideally looking to short indice markets, and we can see that NASDAQ fell 1,700 pips while US30 moved directly into a range. I haven't yet been found out, what was the cause, what was the outlying factors that caused US30 to stay in market structure and not to break structure, but NASDAQ definitely did. And for those of you who shorted NASDAQ, I saw some of your screenshots, so just a massive well done there across the board. But now focusing on the NASDAQ, we can currently see we're in a similar type situation as what we're seeing on US30. We had that little descending, that symmetrical triangle formation, and now we are obviously at that apex. We're starting to range further to the top side. Now again, I'm highly cautious at the moment, just because of the fact that that strong dollar data is extremely negative for indice markets, right? There was that news that I just read out that there's a likelihood for a 50 basis point hike, which is what the markets are looking for. They're looking for these 75 basis point hikes to come to an end, that we can start to see a little bit of a reduction. So the Federal Reserve sees that interest rates and inflation are sort of supposed to be coming to a little bit of a pivot. So that might be what's fueling the markets this morning, but I'm not too interested in chasing this to the top side. Again, looking at yesterday, the imbalance, usually when there's imbalance, I'll wait for the markets to start showing normal momentum, normal activity, and then I'll re-look at getting into something like that. Now, having a look at German 30 as well, just a quick one. We mapped out German 30's market structure yesterday. I just want to show you guys, we did this in one of the live sessions. I just want to show you what ended up happening here. So we mapped out, I think it was in the morning. Yeah, pounds for breakfast. There was a question about breakouts, and I mapped out the fact that only once we break past this point and how we manage our stop losses correctly, can we then, manage this move to the downside. For those of you who remember, I drew this out, level for level, and you can see how that market played out perfectly. Even though we had very little data to work on, we assumed some market structure. Markets were only there at the time, and we assumed some of that market structure. So if you caught that US30 buy or sell position, the sell position, you should have been in some really good profit. So again, for those of you who have $1,000 or more, my trading template, so all of these charts with the price action, with the lines, with the resistance and support, as well as some of the forecasts, I have saved a copy of this and I'm ready to send it to you. So directly after the show, just drop me an inbox. Telegram link is down below, and I'll share with you this profile. In order to set it up, it's fairly simple, but I have provided, and I will provide a little bit of an explanation of how to go into your data folder, how to paste this template in so you can restart MT4 and then see that information in front of you. But looking at this morning from a volume perspective, we started to see that pop off already happen from about 8 a.m. this morning. And this is coming more in line with a balanced market, right? We can see markets were dead until 8 o'clock, and then we start to see a new move in volume. And this ties in line with our dollar domination price action strategy. And so as we start to see markets acting more normally at the start of new sessions, we will fine tune that strategy, and that will be released to you guys in the different packages and your different capacities. So that pop off has already happened. It's a little bit too soon to chase it. But yeah, we obviously don't want to run with this one. I can see here Mongi Naz 100 saying, morning fam, anyone is still holding GBP USD? I'm not. I know there was potentials. Let's have a look here. Let's have a look where we were yesterday. So yesterday's GBP announcement, let's have a look here. We caught those buy pops. I don't know if anybody managed to hold on to those buys, but yeah, if you did, massive well done. If you are still in that buy, massive well done. We are seeing a little bit of turmoil here. GBP USD, this is currently looking at a 5-minute time frame, and we're starting to see GBP USD really come in with a little bit of strength here, attempting to pop through that top side. It's currently sitting at resistance, and again, if we beat that market high, which I think we might be actually going through, then it might be a really great trade to start chasing to the top side. Again, it's a little bit difficult to tell if we're through resistance as yet. or if we're trying to get through, but it does look like it's trying to break through. And we can see that potentially go through this morning. And that would be nice if it just starts that runner, that we have a profitable trade prior to that news announcement. That would be great. So that would be the market structure. And if you're looking at taking a feeler trade here, I'm going to literally put support or my stop loss below that last little support structure, right, which sits just below there. Obviously, we're breaking through resistance. So the second we go through resistance, that will act as support for the market. And you just want to make sure your stop loss is outside of this channel, right? Within this channel, it can be taken out. Outside of this channel, we have an opportunity to continue that rally towards that top side. UK 100 still sitting in a perfect structure that we drew out yesterday. Not much change to that. This is a 1 hour time frame, but we are getting dangerously close and really looking like there's a lot of momentum as we push into the support area. So I wouldn't be surprised for one more retest, but I also wouldn't be surprised if we start to see that little bit of a breakout. And just remember, a breakout on a structure like this isn't a direct run, right? A breakout on the structure will be a breakout and then a retest, more than likely testing both that resistance from both levels, the diagonal from left to right and from left to right, left bottom, top right, left right, right bottom, right? So that is more than likely what we could end up seeing here. And so we just want to wait for that breakout and retest, and that will be a good trade to start looking at. Now, having a look at gold this morning, gold is also a really, really good opportunity. I drew this out a little bit earlier, and we're seeing the price of gold obviously rally, right, off of that weaker dollar data that we started to get from the 3rd. Gold has punched through all of its levels. We're now sitting at the next fib level, and gold has come back perfectly, done a beautiful little retest of that 50 fib. And the big question now is, where will we see gold going? Now, again, one of the big driving factors for the price of gold is the strength and weakness of the dollar. At the moment, the dollar is still in that bearish territory. But again, that 330 data could change that dollar's trajectory for the day. So essentially what I'm waiting for is one of two things. On gold, either I would like to see a break of that previous high, and I would then consider that for a run. The other thing we have to consider on gold is that even if we break that high, right, this one support will be a dynamic resistance. We need to go past that high and past resistance. And then we've got a clear run of around about 400 pips to the next fib level, right? Important to note is that when prices go past a level, they generally come back and retest. So we've gone past that level, we're retesting, and that would be, what we're looking for. Now, in addition to that, if we get that weaker dollar data, obviously we know and understand a weaker dollar means commodities can rise. So a weaker dollar this afternoon would justify a gold long. But again, a stronger dollar could very well break that 50 fib level. And then gold has got a pretty long way to fall. So the value opportunity here sits more in a gold sell for a stronger dollar than it does in a gold buy for a weaker dollar. There's a lot more pips to be made and a lot more of a natural move that we can see on gold should we end up getting that. Brent is another interesting one I spent a little bit of time on this morning. And Brent is looking extremely interesting for two reasons. We've established that we've got this on a 4-hour time frame. We've got a massive, massive support running through the price of Brent and pretty much keeping Brent, in its current state. Now, the other thing we have to consider is that, we have this diagonal structure here, this pretty much this bear channel that Brent created prior to breaking out. And I'm still of the opinion that Brent is in a bear trap. It's trying to catch a bunch of people for a sell. But if we look at this diagonal from a resistance, once resistance, now support, you can start to see the formation that Brent is busy making, right? It's hitting that support level, that $90 per barrel. It's also hitting that support from a diagonal perspective, and it's obviously winding down this market. So the ideal price action for Brent right now is that if we have a look and just map out this is on a 1-hour time frame. You could probably see it even better on a 30-minute time frame. If we map out this descending structure here, you're going to see we're creating a descending channel, a descending triangle, right? So for those of you who can see it, there's the descending, there's our support. So descending triangle. Usually descending triangle will break out between 50 and 70% of its formation. So somewhere in the space is ideally where you'd see a descending channel break out. However, I do think the price of Brent is meant to go topside. So if we start to see a break in this, right, towards the top side, and that can happen anywhere between, $92, $93 a barrel, that would be my buy trigger to rally all the way up to that $98 per barrel, right? And again, we would then need to overcome this diagonal that was once support, now resistance, as well as that 50 fib level. So Brent's got a little bit of work ahead of it, but Brent has the ability, certainly over the coming term, to really get back up to those previous highs. And again, that's at that $123 a barrel. So a lot of price action across the board. The only one that's really moving that is in breakout formation is obviously US30, but otherwise GBP/USD seems like it's in profit. We are channeling further up to the top side. So if you're on a GBP/USD buy, once again, you should already be in profit. Not anything to call mom and say, you're a successful trader and you're quitting your day job, but at least we are in there around about 10 pips or so running in profit as we start to push through that resistance level, that previous resistance level on GBP/USD. So re-entered that GBP/USD earlier this morning. Fabia, well done. You should be in beautiful profit then. If you re-entered, you should be smiling. Depending where you enter this morning, if you caught it at that 9:30 mark, you should be smiling 50 something pips in profit. So you guys are absolutely smashing. So again, it's anyone's game for this afternoon, right? If we start to see that weaker dollar, that is obviously going to be fairly big for the markets. I think markets are really going to cannibalize the dollar if we start to see that weakness. But again, we could very well see strength. We've seen the dollar recently expected to do one thing and absolutely comes out of nowhere with that strength and starts to dominate the market. So again, it's all about being prepared. Yesterday, not spotting that NASDAQ was reacting perfectly. I don't know if it would have changed my position, because ultimately when I do see NASDAQ following the rules, in most cases that would support my position. For example, a US30 sell. So even though NASDAQ followed the rules and did what it was supposed to based on our analysis, it's just one of those things, right? That is the joys of trading the markets, right? And that's one of the things we've essentially traded every day for the past, let's say 2 months, going on 3 months, and we've ended every single week in a profit. We've very rarely ever had a day of stop losses. Yesterday was one of the first days that we've actually hit a stop loss in a session, or had a wrong prediction about the markets in terms of where they're going. So yeah, it's part of the process. It's part of trading. Again, I generally tell people, because we're so accurate on the shows, risk management is everything, because otherwise people see all these trades every single time moving into profit, all these trades that eventually go in the direction that we're looking at, and they start forgetting about risk management because their accounts move into profit. They're doubling and tripling accounts. But the second that we're wrong and there's no risk management, then you see people writing that they've drawn down their accounts or they've lost money. If you draw down your account and if you've blown an account and you put it on the chat, all that's telling me is that no risk management. You have no understanding of how to grow money over a period of time. So there's nothing wrong with that. We obviously learn from those errors, but if you need help, please reach out and ask for help. If you need help with risk management, if you need help understanding the pip counts, how much a stop loss is worth on your account, please always do reach out and let us know. In addition to that, our new trading platform, the Web Trader, is almost ready to basically become public, right? We're integrating, and this is very, very exciting stuff. This is still in development, but we're integrating an ability that when we send some sort of price action formation, some sort of market opportunity, right there on that market opportunity, you can hit trade now. It'll take you to the Web Trader and open up that asset or open up that commodity for you with one click of a button. So that's going to be some really exciting stuff, and we will know over the next day or two how likely that is we are going to implement that. But yes, absolutely amazing stuff, and you guys are going to have a ton of benefits across the board. Again, those groups will be established. We will start to share what those groups entail. The packages are fairly well laid out, and once that's confirmed, we will be sharing with you what all works and how that all works together. Chris H, leave that X, my man. Better days are ahead. All right, so someone's asking for the take profit on GBP USD. So GBP USD, we're not going to be looking at taking profit on this one. We're essentially just going to utilize a trailing stop technique, right? So again, once markets have settled at support and we've made a decent upthrust to the top side, so once we've reached that £1 buying $1.19, I'll zoom in for you guys really quickly. Okay, so once we hit that one pound buying $1.19 and 63 pips, right? That'll be a decent enough room for a retracement above our entry. It might end up doing something like that. That will be the first time we will then activate those trailing stops, because it means the next move would not take out our trailing stop. And all you want to do there is you want to measure what is that move there. We can see it's 20 pips, so it's a 20 pip range, and then we just want to manage that our trailing stop never basically goes into that structure, right? So once the next strong move happens and we move into profit, you may want to consider just moving to break even, and thereon after just allowing it to run and or manage, right? Again, this is all going to very much depend also on that 230 data, that autumn mini budget is what I'm going to call it. That's going to have a big impact on the pound. So I'm going to be listening in on that live. We're not necessarily going to be streaming it, but that's going to be happening at 2:30. We do have that 3:15 show, and that is going to be looking at that US data on the market. Sorry, I apologize. We have already at 12 o'clock that is going to be for the euro. That's going to be a premium plus show. And then again, we have that 3:15 looking at that US data. And then once again, we obviously have our New York Stock Exchange open. Again, if you have more than $100 in your live account, if you navigate to your client area on the left-hand side of your screen, you will be able to see those access links, right? And I'll quickly have a look if I can show you guys that very quickly. If you're here for the very first time, you might be interested in how you access those links and those features and that functionality. So let me go ahead and see if I can get it for you guys. Okay, beautiful stuff. So what you're going to see when you log into your show or when you log into your platform is I'm going to show you a little something like this. Okay, good stuff. Just want to see if I can get away our... Give me a second. Okay, there we go. Beautiful stuff. So what you'll start to see is all the information, and obviously I can see a lot more than what you would be able to, but in essence, everything that you need will be available to you in this left-hand menu, right? A lot of the new tools and features that we're going to be rolling out will be available to you, but depending on what your account size, you'll be able to access the different shows for the day, right? So you simply click on this link and it will literally open up that show for that day. And this is now showing me live, right? And I hope I don't break YouTube. Let's see how far it can go into the future before we break it. Let's have a look. Let's see what happens if we bring some money in, if we can actually break this thing. Just going to start bringing money in, all of the views going backwards. Okay, that's nuts. Okay, we don't want to break YouTube. That's not what it's all about. But in any event, yes, there's quite a bit that's happening today, quite a bit that you need to be following and you need to be ahead of. Again, if you don't have your Globex 360 live accounts, link is in the description below. Go smash that link, open up your account, get funded so you can benefit from all of the live broadcasts that we do end up having today. Let's see. Someone's saying, please help. Let's see. Let's quickly have a look at the chats really quickly. Let's see what you guys are busy saying. I see Joseph's asking something about selling gold in terms of opportunities and buying it. So Rainmaker, we are going to be moving to the new platform, right? And that will obviously have a way better look and feel. The show has been set up for the new platform. So I understand your request, but we are going to be moving and trading solely out of the new platform extremely soon. And that means that everything is positioned so that you can see things nice and clearly. As an example of that, I can go ahead and just share with you really quickly. Let's go have a look here. So an example, that would be an example of how you can see the units. You can see it extremely clearly. You can see what currency pair we're on. No matter what it is that we open, you'll have full visibility and be able to see what is obviously that all about. So again, it's been set up for the new platform, and you will be able to see all the instruments and commodities as and when we open something. No matter how strange it might end up being, you'll be able to see very clearly. Euro 50 as an example, massive Euro 50, you can't miss it. And again, this is part and parcel of our new platform that we are going to be launching publicly once we've fixed some of the other items. We've already fixed a ton about it, but we still have a few more to go and to get sorted out. So outside of that, guys, you know what time it is. As always, I'm going to tell you to be safe, trade safe, and as always, remember to do things the Globex 360 way. I will see you guys at, I believe it is 11:45. Let me just double check the show schedules. We have so many shows right now that I'm actually not even sure what show is happening when. Let me just confirm with you guys. Okay, so I do send the show schedule into the Telegram group. If you're not part of the Telegram group, obviously the link is down below. But obviously we are covering at the moment, let's have a look here. So the next show is sitting at 11:45. That is going to be that Euro CPI data. Then again, 3:15, that is going to be covering that Philadelphia Manufacturers Index, as well as jobless claims, as well as new home sales. That's going to be 3:15. And then finally, our Dollars for Lunch New York Stock Exchange session. So the show's all in there. Links will be and have been sent to you, so you can go ahead and access all that information. Outside of that, guys, have yourselves an amazing day. Be safe, trade safe. As always, remember to do things the Globex 360 way. And I'll see you all a little bit later. Goodbye.